we have this micro challenges. Yeah, there are a couple of them when it really comes to intricate process. Okay, now we came to the industry, we came to the geolocation and the biomass and the technology complexity, the OPEX and CAPEX. Now let's talk about the technology itself. Yeah, so in first, as you all would have heard last 2 days, that the pre-treatment is the first process. So now, when it comes to pre-treatment, usually it's done at high temperature and pressure because the biomass has to be broken down, to remove lignin and other unwanted things, and then we produce cellulose out of it before we go for further conversion into glucose, basically. So that is one micro kind of, I can say challenge there. And then when it comes to the effluent toxicity, while breaking down this biomass into cellulose with that high temperature, it's basically a thermochemical reaction. Various technologies, various experts and scientists have come out with different chemicals and different process. So end of the day, there is a effluent that is very high in toxic levels are getting produced from this. Okay, so this is again kind of micro challenge. I call it on an industry perspective, but in terms of production, it's definitely a bigger challenge. But when you look at the totality of end to end, that is, I look at biomass from the agri industry, I'm getting the biomass, the waste, and then producing ethanol as an industry. When you look at in totality, I can look at as a micro challenges. Now, delignification is definitely one of the challenge because after pre-treatment, we wash the whole mass that we get, and we separate the substrate and we separate the filtrate. Now, filtrate has got lignin. Yeah, and this washing process, again, it's quite elaborate because you have to retain the cellulose and take it to further process. So that again becomes a bit of challenge. I'm just talking in terms of industry perspective, if you look at it, because these are all, when you imagine a 50 KLPD plant or 100 KLPD plant, this is very huge and big and tedious tasks. And until we do it perfectly, until we do it to the desired levels, the further process will not be as desired, and the result, we have to meet certain targets. So that is, more important that all these steps are done to the desired levels. Now, next comes, this pre-treatment basically is done either in a acid hydrolysis or alkali hydrolysis. I spoke about the thermochemical reactions. Now, at one point, we go to higher levels of these, concentrated alkali solutions to treat this biomass, or the same way the acid, high levels of acid. Now, having spent that, I was talking about the OPEX. Like we have to be, our cutoff is 40. There is no other way because this product is only sold to the oil manufacturing companies and they have some fixed rate. So I got to fix my production cost to some level. So that is 40 in a way to make it profitable or to make it economically viable industry prospect. So to produce it below 40, that's, so much of alkali or so much of acid that we are putting in for the treatment, somehow it has to be recovered so that we reuse it. So that is again a challenge. Yeah. So what is the way forward? When you look at the first process, that is a challenging thing. So yes, to address the high temperature and pressure, how do we obtain it? And how do we do this recovery of alkali, this thing, or acid recovery? Yeah, the way forward can be an extrusion method, I think, which Dr. Sunil just now has, in detail, very brilliantly has explained how it is going to have its effect and how effectively the biomass is converted into cellulose. Yeah, so extrusion method has to be probed, and we have in fact gone deeper into it, did a lot of trials and research, and we have come out with brilliant solutions. And in fact, our entire pilot plant runs on extrusion method of pre-treatment. And also, of course, research, there is never an end. So we have recently introduced the electromagnetic radiations, like, we have customized infrared reactors. Even we do try, we have tried, done couple of trials on microwave radiation for pre-treatment. And that again, there are a lot of parameters that changes your dilution and then your acid or alkali concentrations and the time most of them, changes. They're totally different when it comes to regular thermochemical reaction or your extrusion method. So this is totally different. So already we are very deep. We are getting into those lines to simplify this pre-treatment challenge, so that we arrive at a logical solution to this first step. Yeah, because when you look at huge volumes of these factories, the biomass is too huge to handle. So we have to arrive at the best available technology which can be utilized to achieve our targets. So definitely EM radiation methodology is quite promising, as I have seen it through. And recently we have customized and also fabricated a infrared reactor, and that's giving fantastic results, I tell you. And I don't have to explain the microwave effect on the biomass or the infrared effect on the biomass. So I think the audience definitely know what is the logic behind it. So it is a heating from inside out, whereas all other methods of pre-treatment is a surface heating. So there's a big difference. Like, we were talking about breaking the bonds, breaking, the hemicellulose and all those, chains and, many things that was discussed last 2 days. All that happens with this EM radiation technology, definitely. And, yesterday I heard one or two presenters were talking about sonication and ultrasonicator and all that. So that also is in the same lines. But the thing is, we have to somehow bring it to a level of industry adaptation. So as I was talking about infrared or the microwave, both we are trying to almost in the verge of adapting to the industry level. Yeah. So next, let's move on to another micro challenge. I call it micro, as I told you, as a saccharification. Again, there the traditional methods are around 36 or 72 hours. It's quite a lengthy process, and I think brilliantly my team was trying to explain that how that barrier they have tried to break, and 18-20 hours they are able to achieve certain amount of glucose yield, so that it can be further pumped in for distillation. Next comes the cellulose hydrolysate dilution. I think Dr. Sunil just now spoke about the dilution, the whole technique behind it, and what are the aspects that are going to affect them. Next, it is enzymatic hydrolysis at 50 to 60 degree centigrade. Yeah, this is, I can call it a major challenge. Yeah, when we look at 50 KLPD plant, it's almost around 10 lakh liters, 15 lakh liters of tank sizes. That much of hydrolysate, that much of a slurry that we are supposed to maintain at 50 to 60 degree centigrade, it's a humongous challenge. And the amount of energy and the machinery that's required, the power, the whole thing, the whole dynamics gets changed. So to address that, we were talking about, we have thoroughly worked on this flow mechanism, like, bringing tubes into scenario wherein the tubes, this temperature can easily be attained because the sizes of tubes are quite imaginable. So only thing, the length has its own this thing, like, if you look at 50,000 liter capacity plant, maybe it will go to 5 kilometers or 7 kilometers, depending on the dia of the tubes that we were trying to have some, scale up coordination meetings. So how do you fit in this? So my colleague, the first session, was explaining about the manifold concept, that, we put these tubes in a manifold with a kind of roof for, protecting it from the sunlight and rain. And so within a footprint of around 4 to 5 acres, a plant can have these reactors set up in a manifold manner. So that way we address this humongous challenge of giving 50 to 60 degree constant temperature to this enzyme, to achieve the targets of this enzymatic hydrolysis. That's very key for a very good conversion and very good yields in the further machine line. Next, next is a very tricky concept. How do we look at the cost of enzymes? Everybody knows that the major cost in 2G ethanol is basically about the enzyme. Okay, so enzymes are definitely costly, and the more and more yield, the more and more complex the biomass gets, and depending on the efficiency of the technology, the enzyme dosage keeps on increasing. We call it a FPU unit, like that. So filter paper unit, whatever. So whatever we buy, okay, fine, let's go for the maximum dosage for maximum conversion. That's fine, fair enough. So we get a good yield. But again, we have to somehow strike a balance of what is the cost that we're spending per liter. I can't spend 70, 80 rupees per liter of ethanol production where I'm selling at around 50 to 65 rupees. So it calls for recovery of enzyme. That's the way forward. Yeah. So recovery of enzyme, we have thoroughly worked on it, and in fact, I have a team that is working out of Bangalore. Very brilliant guys from again, IIT. And so this technology that we are trying to envisage is, looking at how do we recover enzyme from the process. Like we keep recovering them, and you reuse them minimum of 8 times, 9 times, so that even a higher dosage of these enzymes can deliver a better yield, but again, my cost is under control. Yeah. So similarly, when it comes to this tubular reactor, I was talking about 50 to 60 degree. How do we maintain it? Yeah, there was, kind of first approach as the regular, double piped, shell side and the tube side kind of, heat exchangers, which are, the regularly known ones. Yeah. Now, when we were doing, this design of our infrared reactor that I was mentioning just before, so we have customized it, and we saw that this temperature can very easily be maintained, even easy than our heat exchanger methodology. But of course, putting it into a larger scale scenario, a lot of work needs to be done. So at the moment, we stick to the heat exchanger methodology until all this nascent technology that we are doing, or even otherwise anywhere else in the world that has been probed upon, comes to a stage of implementation. But definitely our eyes are wide open, research is very intense, and we are going to break the chains. Yeah. So next, we'll look at the challenges in fermentation. So again, it's a lengthy process as far as we talk about, because it's already an industry established time frame that 24 to 36 hours, they take for a particular batch of this fermentation. We call it lengthy for the reason that, there are tanks again, and for a 50,000 liter per day ethanol complex, it has got around minimum 3 to 4 lakh liters of tanks, and they sequence it into 2 lakhs, or sometimes they have 2.5 into as many tanks. Then again, every time the filling of usually in the sugar factories, they do molasses and water mixture, and then they add the yeast. That's the regular practice. So let's just look at the regular fermentation practice. Then again, when it comes to 2G, at the moment, the same procedure has been followed. Only thing is here, the sugar solution is obtained from a 2G source, that is the agricultural biomass, wherein there it is obtained from the industry, that is the molasses, as a byproduct that comes out of sugar, this thing, and that is diluted. So again, filling these tanks is a huge, humongous task. And after every process, it has to be drained out to your distillery unit. So this itself, we call it a downtime in the process. So process downtime is quite high. And again, if at all, if I try to increase the concentration of glucose, usually they try to follow 50 or 16 FS level, that is fermentable sugar percentage. 15 or 16% is what usually followed in industry to attain a 8 to 10% glucose ethanol water, sorry. So if at all, if I try to tamper this kind of golden formula what has been actually followed, I try, instead of 15 or 16 or 18 FS, I try 24 FS. What happens? So that I get concentrated ethanol water at around more than 12% ethanol water or 15% ethanol water. So my distillery will be highly efficient. So these are all the efforts when somebody tries to do. Then again, there is yeast, because it's a microorganism. It can take a certain amount of glucose concentration, otherwise it leads to a toxicity. Yeah. So similarly, end product inhibition. This is again a very majorly discussed concept. As and how the end product is formed, that is ethanol, as and how it is getting formed, the concentration of ethanol starts increasing to the end of the fermentation cycle. Now, if you go for high glucose concentration, again, the end product will have that much amount of high ethanol concentration. So both are detrimental to the growth and performance of the yeast that we are using. I mean, usually the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, the workhorse that has been widely used across the globe. It's available commercially. So what's the way forward? Again, we tried something called very high gravity fermentation. Yeah. So there are certain methods we try to achieve even up to 14%, 15% of ethanol water. And that, how did we achieve? We tried to do something called, mixing ethanol water to the molasses or the sugar syrup, so that the sugar syrup anyway, usually they dilute it initially with water. So we diluted with ethanol water. Okay, so that way, and then after doing the dilution, it came back to a level that it was, doable fermentation. Right? So we termed it as a very high gravity fermentation. And so already there was ethanol in the initial, starting of the fermentation itself. And then we are mixing this sugar syrup into that. And we were able to achieve 14-15% of ethanol water. And that increased the yield of our distillery unit drastically. Yeah. So these are all the different trials that we have done. Yeah. Thank you for giving this opportunity.